Ethan Carter stepped carefully onto the gleaming floor of Orex 9, the Galactic Council's massive station that hovered like a jewel in the blackness of space. The hum of energy and soft lights reflected off the polished surfaces, and alien figures moved gracefully through the halls, their forms varying from towering spires to slinking serpentine shapes. Ethan's pulse quickened, equal parts awe and anxiety. He had spent his whole life studying humans, and now he was studying them from a distance that spanned light years. He adjusted his crisp human uniform and clutched the small data pad that held the schedule for the station's medical check-ins. This was his first real assignment aboard Orex 9, and he wanted to make an excellent impression. The Galactic Council had high hopes for human representatives. They were new to interstellar politics, but they had a reputation for ingenuity and emotional intelligence that no other species could match. Humans were still small players, technologically inferior in some areas, yet remarkably adaptive. Ethan hoped his first day wouldn't expose his nervousness too clearly. The medical wing was a stark contrast to the bustling corridors. Here, sterile white walls merged seamlessly with the soft glow of panels and monitors. A faint scent of antiseptic mingled with a more alien tang he couldn't quite identify. The room seemed designed to calm nervous patients, with gentle hums that resonated like a soft heartbeat. Ethan tried to steady his breathing as he approached the check-in desk, where a Zypheran nurse waited. Her skin shimmered faintly in a silvery hue, her eyes reflecting a depth that suggested centuries of experience. "Good morning," Ethan said, attempting casual confidence. "I'm here for my standard human medical assessment." The nurse tilted her head slightly, considering him. "Standard for humans, yes," she asked, her voice melodic but precise. "I will prepare the procedures." Ethan nodded, though he felt a little uneasy. Zypheran procedures were far more regimented than human protocols, emphasizing exact compliance and careful timing. One misstep could cause a misunderstanding, or worse, a diplomatic incident. He swallowed and tried to phrase his next words carefully. I need the injection for, the basic the routine vaccination," he stammered. His human accent and unfamiliar medical terminology combined into a tangle of words. The nurse's ears twitched slightly, a subtle motion he noticed. She tilted her head again and asked in perfect formal tone, "Do you mean the serum standard for husbands?" Ethan froze. No, what?" She held up a vial, small and glowing faintly. "This is the standard injection for husbands of your species, intended to enhance compatibility and shared empathy with their partners." Ethan blinked, unsure if he had heard correctly. "Husbands?" he repeated. I meant routine vaccination for immunity, not that." The nurse nodded, almost apologetically, though her expression betrayed none of the amusement he might have expected. "You spoke unclearly. For your safety, I administered what I believed was correct according to protocol." Before Ethan could protest, the sharp pinch of the needle entered his arm. He blinked, feeling a brief warmth spread across the muscle, then a tingling sensation that traveled up to his shoulder. He blinked again, and the nurse was already logging the procedure on her data pad. "There," she said. "Done. You may rest for a few minutes before resuming your activities." Ethan sat on the small examination bench, heart racing. His mind reeled. He had been injected with a serum meant for alien standards of marital empathy and bonding. He didn't even have a spouse. The thought made him laugh nervously, but he quickly stifled it. Laughing at this situation could be seen as disrespectful. Minutes passed. At first, nothing happened, and Ethan relaxed slightly. He checked his reflection in the metal panel and noticed nothing unusual. Just his own anxious, pale face staring back. Perhaps the effects were delayed. It started subtly. A warmth in his chest, an increased awareness of the room around him. He noticed the hum of the station more clearly than before, the tiny vibrations in the floor, the almost imperceptible movements of air currents. His senses seemed sharper, but it wasn't painful, just different. The nurse returned, her expression calm. "You are adapting well. The serum for humans is not designed, but you seem resilient." Ethan frowned. "Resilient? I don't even know what this does yet." "Observe," she said simply, moving aside. She gestured toward the hallway where a group of alien delegates were preparing to leave for a diplomatic session. Ethan's gaze fell on them. Normally, he would have seen them as distinct shapes, with varying forms and clothing. Now he could sense subtle cues in their posture, the tension in their limbs, the small micro-expressions that betrayed emotion. He could almost anticipate their next movements. He gasped slightly. I can see them more clearly." The nurse nodded. "The standard for husbands enhances empathy and social intuition. Your species' brain is adaptable. You are benefiting in ways unintended for this application." Ethan's mind raced. He had read about human adaptability, their emotional intelligence, and how they sometimes outperformed technologically advanced species because of creativity and social skill. But this was different. He could feel the thoughts of people around him, not in words but in intent and feeling. It was disorienting. Over the next hour, he tested himself. He walked through the medical wing, noting tiny gestures from nurses and technicians. He could sense when someone was stressed, when a patient was uncomfortable, when an alien delegate wanted privacy but pretended to appear calm. His pulse quickened not from fear but from understanding. The world seemed clearer, more vivid. Yet as he adapted, a strange new awareness crept in. He realized he felt a pull toward the Zypheran nurse. Not romantic, not yet, but a heightened sense of attention and curiosity about her. He had read about bonding effects in alien serums, how they were designed to create emotional closeness and cooperation between partners, but he had not expected it to work so quickly or on him. He shifted uncomfortably, questioning whether his reactions were genuine or chemically induced. The nurse observed silently, her eyes flicking toward him occasionally. She didn't intervene but seemed content to watch the unintended experiment unfold. Ethan's human mind raced through possibilities. He considered requesting a reversal of the serum, but then he hesitated. Even if the serum was accidental, it might give him insights humans had never had in interstellar diplomacy. Perhaps the Council would see it as an opportunity, humans showing unique adaptability and empathy, thriving in circumstances alien to them. By mid-afternoon, Ethan was called to a meeting with the human delegation. As he walked, he noticed his enhanced senses giving him unexpected advantages. He could sense tension between delegates before they spoke, subtle shifts in body language that would normally have gone unnoticed. When he entered the room, he was immediately able to gauge the mood and intentions of the aliens around him. The human ambassador, a tall woman with sharp features, gave him a brief nod. "Carter, you seem different," she said. Calm, observant. "Did something happen during your check-in?" Ethan hesitated. He decided honesty was safer than fabrication. "I may have received a serum intended for something else. Its effects are enhancing perception and empathy." The ambassador raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Well, humans are known for adapting. Let's see how you handle today's session." The negotiation began, and Ethan found himself navigating conversations with a new skill. He could anticipate misunderstandings before they occurred, rephrase human statements for alien comprehension, and subtly diffuse rising tension. He realized that the serum, though accidental, was highlighting humanity's unique strength, the ability to improvise, to think creatively, to read social situations and respond dynamically. By evening, the medical wing summoned him back for observation. He noticed minor physical changes. His reflexes were faster, his vision sharper, and his thoughts clearer. The nurse recorded data silently, occasionally glancing at him with a hint of approval. "You are exceptional," she said finally. "Humans respond unpredictably, but your adaptation is impressive. The serum has amplified something already remarkable in your species." Ethan smiled, a mix of pride and disbelief. "So, a mistake turned out to be an advantage," the nurse nodded. "Sometimes errors reveal strengths. Humans have survived longer than many species because of adaptability. You are living proof." As he left the wing, Ethan's mind buzzed with possibilities. If a serum meant for alien husbands could enhance his perception and empathy, what could humanity achieve with intentional study and application? The Council might see humans as inexperienced yet invaluable, a species that thrived in chaos, that connected across cultures and species with intuition no alien could replicate. Back in his quarters, Ethan reviewed the day. The glow in his vision from earlier persisted faintly, a reminder of the accidental injection. He could feel potential within himself, and for the first time he imagined humans not as minor participants in interstellar politics, but as essential contributors, capable of bridging gaps no one else could. He drifted to sleep, uneasy yet excited. Tomorrow would be the real test, the first full negotiation session with multiple alien delegations. He didn't know exactly what the serum would do, or how much of his response was chemical and how much was his own human ingenuity. But he knew one thing: humanity had survived and thrived in ways no other species had predicted. And now, aboard Orex 9, they had another chance to prove their value to the galaxy. For the first time, Ethan welcomed the unknown, ready to see how far a mistaken injection could take him, and by extension, all of humanity. Ethan awoke to the soft hum of Orex 9, the station's energy pulsating like a heartbeat beneath his quarters. He felt different, though not in a way he could easily describe. The serum coursing through his veins from the accidental injection the day before had subtly altered him. His mind was sharper, his senses more acute, and his awareness of the aliens around him far beyond anything he had expected. He ran a hand over his forearm, still tingling faintly from the injection, and tried to steady his thoughts. There was no denying it now. He had been changed, but the change was not frightening. It was powerful in a quiet, human sort of way. The corridors of Orex 9 were alive with activity. Delegates from dozens of species moved about, carrying instruments, datapads, and artifacts of their respective worlds. Humans had a small contingent on the station, and today they were scheduled to participate in a preliminary meeting with the Cravari delegation, a notoriously rigid and distrustful species known for their strict adherence to protocol and their suspicion of new species. The human ambassador had requested Ethan's presence, intrigued by the unusual clarity and intuition he displayed the previous day. As he approached the meeting room, Ethan could sense the tension before he even saw the Cravari delegates. His enhanced awareness, a side effect of the serum, allowed him to pick up subtle cues in posture, breathing, and energy. They were uneasy, scanning the room as if every object might conceal a threat. Normally, a human might have missed these details entirely, but Ethan felt it all. The Cravari were cautious, protective, and highly alert. They did not trust newcomers lightly. The human ambassador, a tall woman named Selene, greeted him with a subtle nod. "Carter, I hope you're ready. Today will test more than diplomacy. It will test your instincts." Ethan nodded, though he could feel a flicker of nerves beneath his calm exterior. He had learned the previous day that human adaptability was their greatest strength. Unlike some species, humans did not rely solely on rigid protocols. They could improvise, read emotions, and respond to unexpected situations with creativity. That flexibility had served humanity well on Earth, and now it might prove invaluable on Orex 9. The meeting began with formal greetings. The Cravari were tall, sinewy beings with translucent skin showing their inner bioluminescence. They spoke in measured tones, their words precise and deliberate. Ethan listened carefully, but more than that, he felt the subtle shifts beneath their words. He sensed impatience masked by politeness, frustration disguised as calm, and curiosity buried beneath skepticism. He adjusted his stance and his expressions to mirror theirs subtly, not to deceive, but to create a bridge between human and Cravari communication styles. As the discussion moved into negotiations, the Cravari raised concerns about resource distribution in the Outer Rim territories. Their voices were firm, their questions pointed, and their distrust of humans barely concealed. Ethan observed their micro-expressions, the tension in their shoulders, the way their eyes flicked to one another. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, deliberate, and human in tone, but he chose his words with precision. "Perhaps we can consider a shared management system," he suggested, "one where each species contributes its unique strengths to maintain equilibrium. Humans are not the largest force here, but we adapt quickly. Our flexibility might help ensure stability where rigid rules alone cannot." A silence followed. The Cravari blinked slowly, as if processing the unusual perspective. Most species approach diplomacy with strict adherence to protocol. They expected humans to either follow or fail. Ethan's suggestion, grounded in adaptability rather than hierarchy, was unfamiliar. One of the Cravari, a delegate named Orex, inclined his head slightly. "You propose humans as mediators. A species inexperienced in interstellar management." Ethan met his gaze without flinching. "Yes, we may be inexperienced, but our adaptability allows us to navigate unexpected challenges. We see connections others might overlook." That perspective can prevent conflicts before they arise. Vrix's bioluminescent skin pulsed lightly, a sign Ethan had learned indicated contemplation. The Cravari were cautious, yes, but intelligent. They were beginning to recognize that humans might offer value in ways no one had anticipated. Meanwhile, Ethan felt the serum's effects intensifying subtly. His senses picked up whispers of conversation across the room, the emotions behind formal statements, and even the small, involuntary gestures of the alien delegates. He could anticipate their needs, their likely objections, and the points that would resonate most effectively. It was almost as if the station itself were teaching him, amplifying his natural human instincts for observation and empathy. During a brief recess, Ethan stepped aside and observed the delegation more closely. Neera, the Zypheran nurse who had administered the accidental serum, appeared in the hallway, her presence calm yet attentive. "You're performing admirably," she said quietly. "Humans rarely respond so well to serums not designed for them." Most species would struggle, even resist. Ethan gave a small smile. "I suppose humans survive by adapting. We don't always follow rules, but we find ways to make things work. Even mistakes can become opportunities." Neera tilted her head slightly. "Indeed, but be cautious. Enhanced perception can be overwhelming. Emotional signals, subtle cues, they can exhaust you if you are not careful." He nodded. "I'll manage. Besides, I think the benefits outweigh the risks. I can see things others cannot that might be useful today." The negotiation resumed. Ethan's enhanced intuition allowed him to mediate effectively. He could sense when discussions were about to derail and intervene with phrasing that eased tension without appearing manipulative. He observed a Cravari delegate's subtle micro-movement, a tiny twitch in their hand, and immediately adjusted his wording to avoid triggering a defensive response. The session progressed more smoothly than anyone had anticipated. Humans were contributing not with force or authority, but with understanding and adaptability. By midday, a situation arose that tested Ethan's abilities further. One of the Cravari delegates accused another species of misreporting resource allocations, a claim that could have escalated into a full-blown dispute. Ethan's mind raced, analyzing the facts, the body language, and the emotional currents in the room. He spoke, calmly presenting an alternative interpretation that highlighted common ground without undermining the delegate's credibility. The room quieted, the tension dissipated. No one expected a human to intervene so effectively, yet Ethan's insights had prevented an argument that might have delayed the entire negotiation. He realized then that the serum's unintended effects were not just physical or sensory. They were enhancing the very qualities that made humans uniquely valuable: creativity, empathy, and social intelligence. After the session, Ethan retreated to a quiet observation deck overlooking the star-filled void. He reflected on the day's events, marveling at how far humans had come in such a short time among the stars. The Galactic Council had underestimated them, as many species did. Humans were not the most powerful, not the most technologically advanced, but they possessed something no other species could replicate: the ability to adapt, improvise, and connect in ways that transcended protocol. Neera appeared beside him, her presence quiet but comforting. "You are unusual, Ethan Carter," she said softly. "Perhaps humans will surprise the galaxy yet." He smiled, feeling a strange warmth at her words. The serum's bonding effects created a subtle pull, but he focused on the broader implications. "I think humanity is capable of more than anyone realizes. Sometimes, accidents like today reveal our true potential." The evening brought another test. A minor system malfunction in the station's energy grid caused a brief power fluctuation, triggering emergency protocols. Aliens moved quickly to contain the issue, but miscommunication between species could have resulted in injury or confusion. Ethan, sensing the escalating tension, stepped in without hesitation. He guided individuals with calm authority, anticipating each reaction and coordinating efforts until stability was restored. Delegates later praised him for his quick thinking, though none realized the source of his uncanny foresight. Ethan himself knew. The accidental serum, combined with his human instincts, allowed him to perceive patterns and emotional cues others could not. That night in his quarters, he recorded his observations for the human delegation. He noted every subtle advantage the serum seemed to confer: heightened empathy, improved reflexes, enhanced intuition, and an ability to navigate social dynamics across species. He wrote carefully, ensuring the report highlighted human adaptability as the key takeaway. Even if the serum's effects faded, the insight gained from today could shape humanity's approach to interstellar diplomacy for decades. Sleep eventually claimed him, but not before he reflected on the day's lesson. Humanity was underestimated in the galaxy, yet it had unique qualities that could turn even mistakes into opportunities. The accidental injection, the misheard words, had revealed a hidden strength. Humans were capable of extraordinary adaptability, creativity, and connection. These were the traits that might ensure survival and influence in a universe filled with powerful, rigid species. As Ethan drifted into dreams, he imagined the future. Humans aboard Orex 9, not as passive participants, but as essential mediators, problem solvers, and connectors. The Galactic Council might still see them as small players, but he knew better. Humans thrived in uncertainty, excelled where others hesitated, and turned challenges into triumphs. The serum might have given him a temporary advantage, but the real power came from his species, inherent resilience and ingenuity. And as the station's lights dimmed for the galactic night cycle, Ethan felt a quiet confidence. The next day would bring new challenges, new negotiations, and new opportunities to demonstrate what humanity could offer. He had been given a glimpse of potential far beyond ordinary human capacity, but he also knew that humans' greatest strength lay not in serums or enhancements, but in their ability to adapt, understand, and connect across boundaries no other species could traverse. Tomorrow he would face more tests, but he was ready, humanity was ready. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. Ethan Carter woke to a gentle vibration beneath his quarters, the subtle hum of Orex 9 reminding him that the station was alive, pulsing with the energies of countless species. Today was the final day of the Galactic Council's multi-species summit, and tensions were high. Delegates from across the quadrant would be negotiating critical agreements over resources, trade, and security. Ethan felt a familiar tingling along his arms, the lingering effects of the accidental serum from the Zypheran nurse still sharpening his senses and instincts. He had adapted to it remarkably well, and each passing day revealed more about the hidden advantages humans possessed: adaptability, intuition, and empathy. The first session began in the main chamber, a grand hall with ceilings that stretched upward into crystalline structures, casting refracted light across the delegates. Aliens of every conceivable shape and size moved with careful precision. The Cravari were present, still cautious, and the representatives from other species watched the human delegation closely, curious about what these newcomers could contribute. Ethan noticed it immediately: the subtle adjustments of their posture, the slight flares of color beneath their skin, the tiny micro-movements of their limbs as they prepared to defend their positions. The ambassador turned to him with a nod. "Carter, this session will be challenging. Expect attempts to mislead, to provoke, and to dominate. Your ability to anticipate reactions will be tested." Ethan inhaled deeply. He had already learned that humans excelled in uncertainty. Where other species relied solely on rules, humans relied on observation, logic, and empathy combined. That was their edge. He walked forward with calm confidence, though internally his senses were alert to every subtle cue around him. The session began with routine reports. The delegates from various worlds outlined resource allocations and trade agreements. Most of the discussion seemed ordinary, yet Ethan detected undercurrents: tension between two alien species that was barely concealed, a delegate from a remote system anxious about possible exploitation, subtle disagreements hidden behind courteous language. He could anticipate the questions before they were spoken, the objections before they were voiced, and the fears that each participant tried to mask. Then the first real test arrived. A Cravari delegate suddenly accused a smaller species of misreporting resource yields, a claim that could have escalated into a heated dispute. Voices rose, and several delegates prepared to intervene. Ethan stepped forward, not aggressively, but with calm authority. He addressed the group in simple human terms, breaking down the numbers and comparing reports. "Let us consider the data carefully," he suggested, his voice steady. "We know each species has its own way of counting and reporting." Perhaps a review of the measurements together can reveal discrepancies without placing blame. He watched carefully, noting the microreactions of each delegate. The Cravari's chest muscles tightened, a signal of suspicion. Ethan paused and adjusted his tone, softening the suggestion while reinforcing collaboration. If we cross-check the figures, all parties will benefit and trust can be strengthened. Humans are willing to assist in this review, as our perspective is neutral and adaptable. A hush fell over the chamber. The Cravari's bioluminescence pulsed faintly, signaling a reluctant acceptance. The smaller species nodded, visibly relieved. By focusing on common goals rather than confrontation, Ethan had diffused a potential conflict before it escalated. He felt a quiet satisfaction. Human ingenuity and empathy were on full display. As the review proceeded, Ethan continued to observe subtle cues. He noticed a Zypheran delegate showing signs of fatigue from the long negotiations. He leaned slightly toward them and offered a suggestion for brief procedural breaks that would maintain formality while easing stress. The delegate inclined their head, appreciating the consideration. No one else noticed the intervention, yet it prevented tension from building. By midday, a more serious challenge emerged. One of the outer system delegates, a species known for aggressive negotiation tactics, attempted to manipulate the meeting by introducing misleading projections. They assumed the humans would either follow protocol blindly or fail entirely. Ethan's enhanced perception allowed him to detect the discrepancies immediately. He cross-referenced data points mentally and subtly guided the discussion to expose the inconsistencies without confrontation. You may consider that the reported values are inconsistent with long-term observations, he said calmly. Perhaps a collaborative review of previous reports can ensure fairness and accuracy for all species. The outer system delegate stiffened, realizing their deception had been noted. Others looked to the human delegation with a new sense of respect. Humans, it seemed, were not easy to mislead. Their creativity and intuition were advantages no rigid species could easily counter. After the session, Ethan retired briefly to a quieter observation area overlooking the stars. He marveled at the sheer complexity of interstellar diplomacy. Alliances were fragile, egos immense, and every species approached negotiations differently. Yet humans, with their adaptability, could navigate the chaos, turning unpredictable circumstances into opportunities for connection. Neera appeared beside him, her silvery eyes reflecting the lights of distant stars. "You are performing remarkably," she said softly. "Your species' ability to adapt is proving more valuable than I anticipated. You may have strengthened human influence here more than any council protocol could." Ethan smiled faintly. "The serum helped, yes, but it's more than that. Humans can observe, interpret, and respond. That's what counts. We don't just follow rules, we see patterns and opportunities others overlook." She nodded, "And that may be exactly what this galaxy needs." The afternoon session presented another challenge. A sudden technical alert indicated a malfunction in the station's energy regulation systems. Lights flickered and emergency protocols activated automatically. Delegates froze, uncertain how to respond. Ethan's instincts kicked in. He could sense the stress levels, the microreactions, and the tension that might escalate into panic. He quickly coordinated with human technicians and nearby delegates, using concise, calm directions to guide the response. He anticipated potential errors, noting which species might misinterpret instructions. By subtly adjusting phrasing and tone, he ensured smooth cooperation across language and cultural barriers. Within moments, the emergency was under control. Delegates looked at one another, surprised at how efficiently the situation had been resolved. Ethan's unassuming human intervention had prevented what could have been a serious crisis. That evening, the Galactic Council convened for a final review of the summit's progress. Discussions focused on agreements, concessions, and the resolution of misunderstandings. Ethan participated actively, using the serum-enhanced perception to mediate conflicts before they escalated. He suggested compromises that respected all species' priorities, highlighting common interests and fostering mutual trust. One Cravari delegate, who had been especially skeptical of humans, approached him after the session. "Your species? I did not expect this. You are unpredictable yet effective. Your presence has changed the outcome today." Ethan nodded politely. We humans are used to uncertainty. We thrive when plans go awry. That allows us to help where others might fail. The delegate inclined their head in acknowledgement. Perhaps humanity has a role here after all. As the summit concluded, Ethan reflected on the events. The accidental serum had amplified his abilities temporarily, but it had also revealed a deeper truth. Humans were uniquely valuable not for their strength or technology, but for their flexibility, empathy, and problem-solving under pressure. In a galaxy dominated by rigid hierarchies and strict protocols, humans could connect disparate species, anticipate challenges, and foster cooperation in ways that others could not. Back in his quarters, Ethan documented the lessons of the summit. He detailed how the serum affected him, but he emphasized the human traits it revealed: adaptability, observation, and creative thinking. These qualities, he wrote, could ensure humanity's survival and influence in the galaxy. The accidental injection had been a catalyst, but the true power lay in human nature itself. He paused as he considered Nira, the Zypheran nurse whose misheard words had set everything in motion. The serum had created subtle bonds, but his respect for her went beyond chemical influence. She had acted correctly according to her species' protocol, and in doing so, she had given him a unique opportunity to showcase humanity's potential. As he prepared for sleep, Ethan looked out at the stars beyond Orex 9. Humanity was small, still learning, and underestimated by many. Yet today had proven that humans could adapt, innovate, and connect in ways no rigid species could replicate. The accidental serum had highlighted this truth, but it was the inherent qualities of humanity that would carry them forward. Tomorrow, he thought, would bring new challenges, new negotiations, and new tests, but he felt confident. Humans had a gift for turning mistakes into opportunities, chaos into strategy, and uncertainty into success. They were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but they were resilient, perceptive, and endlessly adaptable. In the vast expanse of the galaxy, that might be enough. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The day had been long and difficult, yet humans had left an indelible mark on Orex 9. Their ability to understand, to connect, and to improvise had changed the outcome of the summit. The galaxy might still underestimate them, but they had shown that even small, unassuming species could achieve greatness through ingenuity, empathy, and determination. And as Orex 9 continued its silent orbit, Ethan Carter slept, ready for whatever challenges the next day might bring, secure in the knowledge that humanity's true strength was not in power or protocol, but in the remarkable ability to adapt, to learn, and to thrive where others faltered.